Paul Graves, 57, woke at dawn in his cabin on the edge of Colorado's Rocky Mountains, where the air was crisp as the first sip of coffee from a scratched tin mug. A former forest ranger, he'd worked 35 years in Rocky Mountain National Park, patrolling trails, fighting fires, and teaching tourists to leave only footprints. His body, scarred from burns and breaks, reminded him of that 2012 night when a forest fire nearly took his life. "Stay low, Paul, smoke's thicker than lies," his partner had yelled then, before flames claimed him. Paul's wife, Mary, died 4 years ago from a stroke. She was his compass, cooking stir-fry for dinner with those Asian spices from their honeymoon and singing old country tunes by the fireplace. "You and me against the world, darlin'," she'd whisper, her voice a melody in his memories. The kids had scattered. Son Dylan, 29, an engineer in Denver with wife Sarah and newborn son Noah, who already tried crawling on the rug during rare visits. Daughter Emma, 26, a teacher in Oregon with boyfriend Alex and wedding plans in Portland. Weekly calls. "Dad, how are your trails? Still chasing bears?" Dylan would joke, but visits rare, life pulling them onward. The cabin, wooden, with creaking floors soaked in pine scent and a view of snow-capped peaks that seemed painted on clear days, was his fortress and prison in one. Paul rose with the first light, cooked oatmeal on a wood stove, adding a handful of dried fruits Mary always kept in a tin jar, and fed his old Labrador Max scraps. "Good boy, Max. You're the only one who didn't leave," he'd mutter, scratching the dog's ears while it wagged its tail like a metronome. Days on the trails, leading tours for retirees from the nearby town, telling anecdotes about coyotes stealing sandwiches, checking markers on trees so tourists wouldn't stray, and foraging mushrooms, big capped ones like umbrellas. The scar on his left arm, from that fire, ached in the cold, reminding him of Mary bandaging it in the hospital, her fingers tender as autumn leaves. "You're my hero, Paul, strong as these mountains," she'd whisper, kissing his forehead, and he'd reply, "And you're my light in the smoke." Now, hero only to tourists, he warned about bears. "Stick to the path, folks. Nature doesn't forgive mistakes, and I'm not always around." Evenings by the fire with a survival book by Ernest Shackleton or Johnny Cash vinyl, the needle scratching Ring of Fire, and Paul singing softly, "Love is a burning thing. Yeah, that's me." He pondered retirement. Sell the cabin, move near Dylan and Denver? "What do you think, Max? Trade peaks for suburbs and kids' cries?" The dog barked, tail thumping the floor, but Paul shook his head. Not yet. Yet, under this routine, a fire smoldered, loneliness like embers ready to flare. One September morning, as mist draped the valley like a ghostly carpet, Paul headed out on patrol along the Wolf's Maw Trail, narrow, twisting, leading to an abandoned 19th century mine where prospectors once dug for gold, now echoing only wind's steps. The air smelled of pines and damp earth, leaves rustling under boots like whispers of forgotten tales. Suddenly, a cry, woman's, desperate. "Help! Oh God, someone!" Paul's heart pounded like a drum in silence. He quickened his pace, radio in hand. "Dispatcher, this is Graves. Hearing distress signal on Wolf's Maw, Sector 3. Send help," he barked into the air. Half an hour later, orienting by echo, he found her, Maggie O'Brien, 51, with a broken ankle at Old Pine Roots. She was a hiker from Seattle, divorced, backpack stuffed with maps and energy bars and an old compass on a chain, seeking adventures for the soul, as she'd say later. "I tripped on this damn route, thought the map was accurate," she groaned, pale with graying hair and a ponytail, and lake blue eyes full of pain and stubbornness. "Phone's dead, no signal. You a ranger? Please, help." Paul knelt, assessing. "Paul Graves, retired. Hold still, Maggie. Looks like a sprain, maybe crack. Breathe even. Name? Maggie O'Brien, from Seattle. Stupid idea hiking alone." He radioed rescuers, but fog delayed the chopper. "Chopper incoming, but an hour, maybe 2. Gotta carry you out myself. Trust me?" She nodded, wincing. "Like I have a choice. Just don't drop me, hero." Paul smiled through his beard. "Won't. Hang on." He bandaged her ankle with Mary's scarf, soft, faded floral pattern he'd carried as a talisman. This from my wife. She'd say, "Hold on, stranger, Paul'll get you out." He hauled her on his back for 2 hours up the slope. Maggie light as a backpack, but each step echoed pain in his old knees, the scar on his arm pulsing. "Sorry for the bumpy ride," Paul grunted, readjusting her grip. "Like a bad roller coaster," she quipped, clutching his shoulders tighter. "Tell me something to distract. Why Ranger?" "Grew up here. Mary, my wife, loved these trails. Paul, they're our church," she'd say, holding my hand at dawn. His voice softened. "She's gone now?" 4 years. Stroke. You? Divorce last year. Bastard cheated. Needed air, not drama." Paul nodded, stepping carefully. "Familiar. Mary left from a stroke. I love you, but go, live," she whispered last. Silence hung, broken only by leaf crunch. "To hell with it, Paul. We'll survive," Maggie said, her breath warm on his neck. In the cabin, he laid her on the cot, tossed a blanket, gave spring water and painkillers from the kit. "Rest easy. Rescuers soon." Maggie, shock fading, looked around. Shelves of survival books, Mary's photo on the shelf, Max wagging. "Cozy here, like an old movie. Thanks, Paul. You saved more than my leg, my pride, too." He chuckled, kindling the fire. "Pride's first lost in mountains. Coffee or tea?" "Tea, if mint, for pain." They talked by the fire, wood crackling like backdrop. Her about kids. Son texts, "Mom, you're crazy hiking alone." Daughter sends kangaroo selfies. "Come visit, but I fear flying." Him about Mary. "She bandaged this scar after the fire. My fireman," she'd tease. "No more heroics." Shared loss, grief, solitude drew them close like a trail in fog. "To second chances," Maggie toasted with water. Rescuers arrived at dusk, chopper roaring over crowns. "See ya, Paul," she said, squeezing his hand. "Saved more than my leg. Call if anything." He nodded. "Hold on, Maggie. Mountains call back." Maggie returned a week later, on crutches, casted, but eyes sparkling. "Paul, bones intact, spirit too. Want to thank you properly," she said, hugging awkwardly at the door, Max sniffing her boots. "Come in. Coffee or tea? Mint in stock." "Tea, hero, and finish the trail with Grandpa's journal." She pulled a worn notebook, yellowed pages, sketches. "Grandpa, prospector, left legend of treasure in Wolf's Maw, gold vein in that mine, found in basement with map. Decided to check, for the soul, not gold. Maggie, mountains hold secrets, he'd tell me as a kid." Paul raised a brow, flipping. "Prospector tales? Half fairy, half fool's gold. But interesting. Show the map." "Here, vein behind Devil's Tooth. Sounds real, right?" "All right, Maggie. Crutches or not, let's hunt. But slow, mountains don't rush. Deal. Your guide, I'm dreamer. Just don't say I told you so." They laughed, Max yipped in unison. They started the search. Paul led on easier trails first, stick in hand like a compass. "Watch that route, the same one that got ya," he warned. "Lesson learned," she grinned. "Tell about the fire, Paul. Scar's impressive, like a battle map." 2012, dry summer, flames everywhere. Partner yelled, "Paul, drop and roll." Wind shifted. Lost him. Voice cracked. Mary waited at hospital. "You're home now," she said. "No more heroics." "And yours?" "Husband, corporate shark." "Maggie, stay home. I'll provide," he'd insist. Then secretary texts. "Tired of being invisible," I said, leaving. Kids, "Son, Mom, you're crazy." Daughter, "Send view pics, proud." Stubborn, she pushed. "Higher, map says ridge." Shared interest surfaced. Both loved survival. She read Wild. Saw in Wild bear spray essential. He shared wet bandana over nose, saves from smoke. Cabin evenings, venison stir-fry sizzling, fire stories. "Play Cash again," she'd request. "Only if you sing harmony." Laughter filled. Maggie opened. "Divorce broke me, feared closeness after." Paul, "After Mary, shut like a clam." "Open up, Paul," she'd say. Still learning. Touches warmed. "Crutch help. Lean on me," he'd murmur. Joint cooking. Her hand brushed his. "Feels right," she whispered one night. The hunt captivated. Grandpa's journal, yellowed pages with sketches, handwriting trembling from cold, led deeper. Here, Devil's Tooth Rock, Paul pointed, brushing moss. They found the mine, ivy overgrown, entrance collapsed like a forgotten grave. Rope ready? Maggie asked, eyes bright. Always. Sure? For Grandpa and us. Go, Paul. He, with lantern and rope, went first. Dust thick, stay close. Inside, centuries dust, dripping echoes like ghosts' whispers. Smells like history, she said, coughing. Maggie followed, lighting. Map, side tunnel, left. Tunnel narrowed, beams danced on rotten timbers. Careful, could cave, he warned. Trust you, she replied. Inside tunnel, a chest, cobwebs like a shroud. Paul pried, not gold nuggets, but documents, Grandpa's diaries yellowed with faded ink memories, letters to lost love, family photos cracked but smiling. No vein, but this, Maggie whispered, tears tracing dust. His life, dreams, heartbreaks, real treasure. Paul hugged in dim. Yours too now, Maggie, and maybe mine. Echoes carried breath, mine a confessional. Outside, sun low. We did it, she laughed. Team Graves O'Brien? Sounds good, he smiled, kissing her forehead. Maggie's past caught up like sudden storm. Ex-husband, Victor, learning of trip from mutual friends, started calling, jealous barbs. Seattle too small for your adventures, Mags? Return. Without me, you'll get lost in hills. She blocked, voice steady. Victor's history, Paul, done. But he showed in town, stormed hospital during checkup. What hell, Maggie? Some ranger playing knight? You're mine. Nurses scattered. Paul, alerted by call, drove over, tires screeching gravel. Found Victor red-faced Hall. Back off, buddy, she's coming home. Paul's anger flared like dry tinder, but channeled ranger calm. She chose her path, Victor, not with you. Leave or call sheriff, harassment no game here. Victor sneered. You, hillbilly hero, she'll crawl back. Try me, Paul said firm, stepping forward, years bare standoffs in stance. Victor backed, muttering, crazy bitch, storming out. Maggie, shaken but fierce, thanks, again, you're my rock. Paul, rocks break too, but we rebuild. She filed no contact order. Victor's chapter closed, yours just starting? He nodded, let's write it together. This bonded them deeper than any vein. Treasure hunt became metaphor. They found not gold, but connection. Grandpa's words echoing theirs. Life's richest loads hearts we mine, he wrote. Maggie stayed in Colorado, rented cozy town apartment, remote accounting. Spreadsheets day, trails dusk, balance. Paul started Graves Trails tours, mountain treasures excursions, blending history hikes. Folks, this path seen prospectors, pioneers, leave mark light. Maggie co-guided. Paul's muscle, I'm stories. Tell mine ghosts, tourists ask. Business bloomed, retirees, families, school groups. Kids approved. Dylan visited family. Baby Noah cooing peaks. Dad, she's good you, smiling more. Yeah, son, feels right. Emma Christmas, snowshoeing. Maggie, teach stir-fry. Dad burns toast. Laughter-filled cabin. One peak day, valley golden. Paul knelt wildflowers. Maggie, mountains taught. Life climbs, views shared. Be my partner trail, marry me? She knelt too, tears shining dew. Paul, you, any summit, storm, yes. Kissed, wind applauded, Max barked below. Paul realized, scars not end, map new paths. With Maggie, found trails solitude yielded steps together, her hand his ridges, laugh echoing canyons. Mountains whispered, second chance is real, listen wind song. Days filled, joint hikes dawn, race ridge she'd challenge, cabin dinners venison wine, grandpa's gold, ours. Plans grew, yurt business eco tours, Graves O'Brien adventures. Dylan brought baby first mountain air, little climber already, Dad. Emma planned wedding hike, vows summit, poetic. Paul, once alone Max's snores, shared sunrises, proof life's paths fork unexpectedly, some lead home hand-hand. We made it, he'd say day's end. Together, she'd reply. Trail secrets? Not buried. Walked them daily, step, discovering new views. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and write in the comments what you would have done if you were in Michael's place.